Hello there, everybody. I'm Mel Allen, and this is Baseball Collector.
Yo and hello everybody, Mike here, Baseball Collector, and today I'm going to show you the first part of a showcase that I'm really looking forward to, and that is MVP award winners and their signatures and autographs. One of the most important things I think a player can win for their career or in any given season is the MVP award. Obviously the greatest career achievement would be to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I think winning an MVP award is, first of all, especially today, incredibly difficult. So many players, so many great players, so much talent. To be considered the best player in your league in any given season is an incredible honor and not to be taken lightly. And the history goes so far back. It's fantastic. So it's one of those things that you can look back literally over 100 years and say, okay, who's won MVP awards, and the process hasn't changed a whole lot over time. The first iteration of the MVP award was called the Chalmers Award, and it was given out from 1911 to 1914. It was voted on, by a committee of baseball writers to determine the quote-unquote most important and useful player to a club in the league. And so it wasn't really that effective as an advertising thing for Chalmers, who was an automobile company, and they gave away an automobile and a cash prize kind of thing. And there was an American League winner and a National League winner for those 4 years. But it wasn't, it was kind of the predecessor to the current MVP award. Then the league awards really started in 1922. They ran through 1929. The American League actually, so from 14 to 22, there's just this gap of that idea. But in 1922, the American League started it off by giving an MVP. It was voted on, by a committee of 8 baseball writers for the first few years. The American League had it for 1922 and 1923. Then the National League started doing it from 24 to 29. The American League ceased to do it after the 1928 season. And so then you have this other weird 1930, there was no official MVP award winner. There were kind of players of the year voted on by different magazines and stuff, but there was no real official MVP award winner, which would have been, I think, for the National League, certainly Hack Wilson, because I think he had 190 RBIs that season. But I can't remember who they thought might have won it in the American League, or who won Player of the Year or whatever. But in 1931, you kind of have this modern MVP idea is born, and what we know today, voted on by the Baseball Writers Association of America, kind of the point system that they have now, and all of that kind of stuff started in 1931. Going back real quick to the league awards, it's pretty interesting because in the American League from 22 to 28, you can only win it once. And what's interesting about that is that's during Babe Ruth's year. So Babe Ruth famously only won one MVP award, which is like really crazy. But then in 31, you start the, what we know of as the MVP award, and kind of go from there. So many players, so many great players have won MVPs, several winning multiple times. Obviously, the most is Barry Bonds won 7 MVPs. I love the history of the award, what it means, what it denotes. Some pretty obscure players have won an MVP because they had some amazing seasons. But that is, as they say, what it is. So I hope you enjoy this showcase as we go through all the different players that have won the National League MVP Award. Then we'll do a part 2 where I do the American League winners. So here we go. All right, here we go with the National League MVP winners. And remember, This goes from essentially the National League MVP started in 1924, went through 1929. No MVP was awarded in 1930, and then in 1931, the baseball writers started voting on the MVP that we know today. So it's been that way for a long, long time. I am missing 10 of the National League MVPs, and so I will point those out as we go through. And so what I'm going to do, the kind of format I'm going to do is I'll throw up this one right now. So there's Cody Bellinger, and so you'll have the card or autograph that I have in my collection on the right, and then on the left, some information about the MVP winner, typically just when they won, things like that. So Cody Bellinger is right there, 2019, and here we go. We're just going to go backwards in time and look at all these. There's the belly that, again, I just got recently. There is my Christian Yelich autograph. I'm going to do these pretty quick because you can just read on the left the different stuff about them. What you'll see is a lot of times I do not have the player's autograph in the uniform or the year that they won the MVP, and that's just I just need one. I'm not really trying to get a certain year or uniform or whatever. A lot of times it does correspond, but sometimes it doesn't. But there's the Stanton. Let's keep going. There's my Kris Bryant autograph that I actually pulled from a pack back in 2012. Here is, and you're going to see a lot of slabbed autographs as well. And so I'll just throw those up. There's my Bryce Harper. There's Clayton Kershaw. Man, we got some glare going on. There we go. That'll be better. Clayton Kershaw there. Someday Hall of Famer for sure. Pretty much if a pitcher wins MVP, man, there in today's day and age. Now, back in the day, it happened all the time, which you'll see here as we go through these. But there's McCutchen. Buster Posey. Ryan Braun. A nice 5-star. Joey Votto. And so for guys like this with Albert Pujols, so Pujols won, he's won 3 MVPs, so he's going to be, I'll just list the years that he won, and therefore there will be a year skipped later for him because he has some years in between his MVP awards. But he did win back-to-back in 08 and 09. There's my Jimmy Rollins autograph. Borderline Hall of Famer, Jimmy Rollins, maybe. We'll see. Wouldn't shock me if he got in. Nor would I be upset. There's my Ryan Howard autograph. I need to get a better one of him because this is obviously a dual signed, and I just need to get a single signed Ryan Howard. This will be the only time you see Barry Bonds, but he won a record 7 MVP awards in the National League. Unbelievable. Best player I've ever seen, Barry Bonds. Next up is Jeff Kent, second baseman, who I think should be a Hall of Famer, but they don't ask me. I don't get to vote. Chipper. Sammy Sosa. Famously won in 98. They kind of gave it to him as a consolation prize, I think, for not winning the home run race with Mark McGwire. There is a Larry Walker, won in 97. Then we've got Ken Caminiti there. So you see a lot of mixtures of Hall of Famers and just kind of guys who had an outstanding season, and that's kind of the way this goes. There's Barry Larkin. Jeff Bagwell. Skipping a lot of years because Barry Bonds won a ton in this era. But in there, Terry Pendleton won an MVP. There's a Topps high-tech autograph of him. And when I look for autographs of players, I don't know. Cost is, especially if they're not a Hall of Famer, I just kind of want to find a nice example that's reasonably priced. There is a Kevin Mitchell. So here's an example of a player like Kirk Gibson here. Oop, let me get him back up here. Who, of course, won his MVP in 1988 with the Dodgers, but was a great player for the Tigers as well. So again, it's just getting a nice example of their autograph. Now this is unusual. I happen to have an 87 Topps traded Andre Dawson signed by Dawson with the Cubs, whom he won the MVP award. He was the first player to win an MVP on a last place team in 1987. So if I know little things, I'll throw them out there. Hopefully I don't misspeak too much. I'll try not to. There's Mike Schmidt, who won 3 MVPs. Willie McGee. Ryne Sandberg. Sorry guys, doing some adjusting here. First Diamond Kings, I think we've seen. Dale Murphy. Back-to-back also. Dale Murphy, and then Schmidt won in 81 and 80. And in 79, you had the only tie in the National League for MVP. So in 79, Keith Hernandez won for the Cardinals. And so did Pop's Willie Stargell. In 78, Mr. Dave Parker, the Cobra, who I also think should be a Hall of Famer. Great career for him. George Foster, who could just mash the ball. Lots of great Reds players and teams in that era during the 70s, managed by Hall of Fame manager Sparky Anderson. There's Joe Morgan. He won back-to-back, 75, 76. You had Steve Garvey, who I thought was going to get in the Hall of Fame this year, honestly. But he did not. Pete Rose, who shockingly only won one MVP award. Given his career, I'm really surprised that he only won one. This guy didn't just win one, he won two. Johnny Bench. I've said it before, and I do believe this, that Joe Torre can make a case for him making the Hall of Fame as a player because he won the MVP in '71. And we're into the 60s. You got Willie McCovey there. Of course, in '68, you had the year of the pitcher. So you had pitchers win the MVP award in both leagues, ironically. And on the National League side, it was Bob Gibson. And I guess you'll just have to wait till the American League video to know who won on the American League side. Orlando Cepeda. Next up is Roberto Clemente, and I'll just put a picture there of my Clemente autograph because it's a really big slab and wouldn't fit very well. Next up, I gotta get the autograph. There it is. Let's see how this works. At least you can just see the autograph, and that's the important part. I have a bunch of kind of tall boy slabs we'll be looking at. There's the Willie Mays. Several MVPs for him. Ken Boyer, who's pictured here. I have an autograph of him somewhere. I just can't find it for whatever reason, which is very hard for me to have to say because I pride myself on keeping my collection incredibly organized and can't find it anywhere. Here's Mr. Koufax, who ironically in this picture is holding the MVP award. So that's kind of neat. '62 was Maury Wills for the Dodgers. Frank Robinson. Ironically, you'll see this card in the American League one as well because he's the only player to win the MVP in both leagues. Frank Robinson. Great career. Very underrated in the hobby, and I say that all the time because I mean it. He really is. There's Dick Groat. It's weird, you go, like, who are these guys? Like, never heard of some of these people. Well, they won an MVP. They were good enough for one season to win the MVP. At least. A lot of them had really great careers, too. Who is that? Dick Groat. Ernie Banks is next. Back-to-back MVP winner. Ernie Banks, 58-59. Again, surprisingly, there's a lot of guys that surprisingly only won one MVP award, and Hank Aaron's one of those. And we've got, let's see if this will show up here. I think it will. There we go. Don Newcomb. It's on an old exhibits card, I think. We're getting back now into the early 50s. You got Campy, who won several. If I can move this up. Won 3 total. Hank Sauer. this next one I need to get out of the case it's in. This is one I literally just got the other day and was kind of the final one I was really waiting on to do this video. Oh, let's see. This is a booklet card of Jim Constantine for the Phillies. I don't know what Casimir means. I have no idea. But he won the MVP as a pitcher back in 1950. We get into some of these. Here is Jackie Robinson. Or if I should pull back a little to give myself some more room there. Jackie Robinson. Love that autograph. Stan Musial. One couple. I'm missing Bob Elliott. I'm missing Phil Cavarretta. Then we got Marty Marion. Missing Mort Cooper. But I do have a Dolph Camilli. Let me put this up here because so I love these SP Legendary cuts. This is actually a 1 of 1. But it's just a cut of a old card that somebody cut out. And we've got a whole bunch of tall boy slabs that are going to be sideways for a minute. There's Ernie Lombardi. Hall of Famer. I think all the rest of the guys are Hall of Famers. Yep, looking at the list, they are indeed. All the rest of the guys that won the National League MVP are Hall of Famers. Joe Medwick, Ducky Medwick. Carl Hubble, 2-time. Gabby Hartnett, love his signature. Dizzy Dean, also love his signature. They were so much more flamboyant and legible back in the day. I mean, go figure. Chuck Klein, who is an incredibly tough signature. I'm just glad to have one. There's Frankie Frisch. Getting some glare. The Old Flash is what that says. That was his nickname. I'll put up a picture of my Rogers Hornsby right here because it's also a very large slab. But next we got Jim Bottomley. Again, we're getting into some not so easy guys. There's Paul Wainer, Hall of Famer. His brother Lloyd Wainer, also in the Hall of Fame. And then the last person and the first person to win the National League MVP was Mr. Dazzy Vance. What a great name. He won in all the way back in 1924. So that's it, guys. There's the National League. Stay tuned. I will hopefully get the American League done soon and show that off to you guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Talk to you soon. Keep collecting.